Hello everyone and welcome to All Things Watched. In this video we are going to talk about the brand new movie The Curse of the Totem. Now this movie actually came out over in Malaysia, so for me this was a foreign movie and of course was spoken in a foreign language, so I had to watch the entire movie using subtitles and whatnot. And essentially this movie is basically a horror movie, and one thing that I really liked about the movie was I really liked the way the movie transitions by the time we go from Act 1 to Act 2 and then into Act 3, because when you first open the movie and start watching the movie, the opening of the movie, it starts off very colorful, very vibrant, very green, very natural, and it's really uplifting, and it's a really good feeling. It's a good tone. It's a really beautiful location, a very beautiful forest, and all that kind of stuff. And so the opening of the movie and the first act of the movie is very clean and crisp and very vibrant and very colorful, which is essentially how the tone of the movie is when it first opened. Now there are little hints and little tidbits along the way that does show that there's maybe more to this place than what meets the eye, but for the most part, the opening act, like I said, the first and even probably up into halfway through the movie, it's a very crisp and clean, and for the most part, a very optimistic form of movie. Until we get to the actual horror elements of it, and then so by the time you get to the third act of the movie and you get to the finale, and you see all the horror aspects and all the crazy supernatural, almost fantasy like elements, then by the time you get to the end of the movie, then the characters are no longer very clean, crisp, and vibrant. They're very beaten and battered and bloody. It's very dark, it's very gritty, and so I really appreciate the transition of the movie and of the sort of the path that each of the characters take from the beginning of the movie until the end. Now, in terms of the actual movie itself, the story, I didn't think that there was a whole lot to hold on to with the story, but I did find the story interesting. So even though I wouldn't go as far as saying that it was a good story, I would say that it was an interesting story, and I really enjoyed how they showed the origins of the curse, and they sort of do that in like these flashback type of scenes. And in these flashbacks, it really goes back, maybe not necessarily back as far as ancient days, but it does go back to it does go back really far in history to a very tribal area. And actually a lot of this movie takes place in a very tribal jungle anyways. It seems like there are still very certain tribes and whatnot which are still very alive and well and flourishing in this jungle, because most of this movie takes place in this jungle. But it seems like in the flashback it goes back a few generations, or maybe even a fair amount of generations, and so it goes back to when it was even more tribal and sort of more barbaric time, so to speak. So I really enjoyed watching the origins of the curse and whatnot. And I also want to say, too, that I did think that the actors did a great job with their performances, especially with the character known as B. And really, this story is told from the perspective of B, Ariana, and Tommy, and Dr. Sani. Now, there's one scene in here, the character Ariana, he really takes a beating throughout the movie. This character goes through so much. This movie is very brutal in terms of graphic. It's very bloody. There's one scene where a guy ends up breaking something. There's a very gory scene when the guy is almost like he has like a utility knife, or almost like a box knife, and he's supposed to be sort of carving into this piece of wood, but he ends up sort of going past the wood and he's just carving skin off of the bone of his finger. So this movie does a great job with the blood and gore and and really the special effects, both practical and CGI. I thought the special effects in this movie were done very well, and so of course there's a lot of really bad stuff that happens to the character of Ariana and whatnot. But like I said, the story really follows B, and I thought that the actor portraying B did a great job, and she really brings that character to life and really made her such a likable character with such a simple story. Like I said, the story is not really anything special, but it is an interesting story all the same. And so, by the time you get to the third act of the movie, and by the time you start to see the curse of the totem really take over, like I said, it really becomes more than just a horror movie. It becomes almost like a fantasy, almost, like it really goes heavy into that supernatural kind of voodoo, magical fantasy type world. And honestly, I thought it was really interesting, and I really enjoyed the movie. I've seen online that a lot of people seem to not really love the movie. Seems like most people are giving this movie like a 50, 55, maybe. I've seen a couple of people give it like a 60, but me, I actually thought the movie was much better than that. I thought the movie, for me, I would give this movie a 70%, but all these things are subjective, so just because I loved it don't mean that you would love it. But, I had a lot of fun with it. I really enjoyed seeing the characters being put through the ringer. I really enjoyed seeing the origins of the curse, and I really enjoyed the sort of the fantasy, almost voodoo, supernatural elements that occur in the movie once we get to the end of the movie, more towards the third act and the conclusion. And I really loved all the dark, gritty, bloody, gory stuff that happened in here. And honestly, I thought that The Curse of Totem was actually quite a good watch, and I really found myself entertained. It was actually one of my favorite movies that I've seen over the past, probably over the past couple of weeks. I liked it more than the brand new movies that I've seen. I liked it more than Eileen. I liked it more than Silent Night. And all that good stuff. And yeah, and that's pretty well all I got. So that's my review of Curse of the Totem. So let me know in the comment section below if you've seen it, and if you'd like to tell me why or why not. If you like this video, click that subscribe button, and until the next one, take care.